So I'm going to start with those in favor of the project. Address for the record.
Hi, my name is Dr. John Mobaro. I live at 3993 Park Boulevard in Hillcrest and University Heights section of the city. The first thing I want to say is I think that what has been sent forward to the Planning Commission has been wonderfully proposed and excellently articulated. I think that a lot of wisdom and prudence has been exercised in this, and I hope that it's proved. But with perhaps these augmentations, one that to be a police-regulated business. I think everyone here wants safe access, but also safe access to our neighborhood stores and our neighbors and such. A police-regulated business permit would be very helpful as a condition of the conditional use permit. So too, adding residencies, treatment facilities, and universities. You know that a number of you have heard from 3 university presidents in the city saying that this would be something that would be requisite and again prudent for the safety of those communities. I myself teach at the University of San Diego, and we've experienced some troubles ourselves, and we'd like to see that addressed by this Planning Commission. So too, I think the CUP should be reviewed annually. Again, I think that is just another issue of wisdom and prudence on our part, and absolutely no zoning variances should be granted because this would seem to eviscerate the very proposal that's being discussed today. Beyond that, I do want to bear just something by way of personal testimony. There are 4 such dispensaries across the street from my house, literally next door. And the complexion of my community, I'm not going to speak in future tense, I'm speaking in the present tense. It has been altered. Even Gabriella Brandon, the deputy city attorney, testified that there are multiple cases that she's prosecuting that are a direct result of the distribution centers that are next door to our house, including strong armed robberies. And even yesterday at 4 p.m., someone had come out of a collective and sold to an undercover police agent. This is happening on a weekly basis in my neighborhood. Not only has there been tagging, we've had muggings of the senior citizens. We have 3 senior towers all within 1,000 feet of this location where there are, again, high concentration of such dispensaries. Again, to demythologize what the proposal is here, and that is, I'm not speaking on behalf of an organization, I'm speaking as a neighbor. And you know, I don't want to deprive anyone who may have a medical need here, but let's have safe access. And safe access to me says, let's restore the rule of law, and it begins with the proper zoning and regulating of these businesses. So keeping them at 1,000 feet away from residences, universities, and such has been proposed here, I think is very, very wise. And we do have a police force that's been absolutely accommodating and very willing. What they now need is the empowerment and the encouragement also of having the rule of law behind them, beginning with the recommendation of this Planning Commission. So please implement this and also strongly consider augmenting the language. Thank you very much.
Okay.
My name is Melinda Bombaro. I'm a resident of 3993 Park Boulevard. My husband just spoke as well. I just wanted to add to what he said. I'm a mother of 4. We live right across the street from 4 dispensaries. To restate that he said the complexion of the neighborhood has changed over the past months, which is a great concern to me as a mom of 4 kids, little kids. Right outside of our door, there are loiterers, people using their medical product right in view of our kitchen window where we eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. 7-year-old daughter asking why this is permitted. Isn't this an illegal thing? Mommy, what's going on here? And it's difficult for me as a mom to try and explain these things to her. So I'm entreating you more as a mother in a residential neighborhood to please consider that as well, adding that to your the ordinance that's to be passed now, that you would consider residential neighborhoods as well in consideration of families that live there.
Thank you. Okay, now Scott Shipman.
All right, thank you, and I also encourage all those who are going to come to speak after me. I'm going to cover a lot of ground here, but the intention is to actually shorten the presentation, not extend it. San Diego's for Safe Neighborhoods is a grassroots group of San Diego residents whose views reflect those directly affected by the deleterious effects of the now 180 marijuana retailers. We represent neighborhood residents, healthcare professionals, drug treatment providers, and educators who care about the crime and youth access to marijuana these marijuana retailers represent. It is difficult to say that we are in support of the project because we oppose all stores selling marijuana, as selling marijuana is illegal federally and by state law. And you have a right and a responsibility to consider to recommend prohibiting storefronts. Over 200 cities in California and 14 counties have already done so. The issue of these marijuana retailers has been considered on numerous occasions by the Transportation and Land Use Committee, the Public Services and Neighborhood Safety Committee, which discussed the recommendations provided by the Medical Marijuana Task Force. However, the ordinance before you today, brought forward from those discussions and by the full City Council, does not go nearly far enough in protecting the public safety of San Diegans. These stores have proliferated at such a rapid rate that we now have, as I said, over 180 operating, and that is up from 22 just 2 short years ago, a 700% increase. It's very clear from the advertising why there's 180 stores selling marijuana illegally in our city. It's the profit. And we have determined there's 180 because we look at the advertising. And the advertising clearly indicates they're trying to attract recreational users. The Compassionate, they are located in nearly every neighborhood in the city, and we provided a map. And all are operating illegally under current state law, Prop 215, the Compassionate Use Act, and AB 420, and the Marijuana Management Program, MMP. Additionally, they are operating illegally according to the City of San Diego, whose zoning codes do not allow for the sale of marijuana. Assistant Police Chief, Assistant Chief over Neighborhood Policing, Shelley Zimmerman, has testified numerous occasions in community forums and to the Committee of Community Planners that every marijuana store that has been investigated has been found to be operating illegally. So, it is crucial to note that these stores operate in flagrant disregard for the law, and that's why we are arguing for police-regulated businesses. If I were to open a convenience store to sell tobacco, rolled by myself, and food products that I prepared, I would be required to apply and pay for and receive a city business tax certificate, be approved by city zoning, have a food handler's license, have my kitchen where the food is prepared be inspected by the county health department, comply with the state Sherman Act, which regulates the contents of foods, drugs, and cosmetics. Not one of the 180 stores currently operating have been required to do to comply with any of these regulations, and so we can say they are unregulated. The fact is, they're regulated poorly. Let me read from the State Attorney General guidelines. Storefront dispensaries. Although medical marijuana dispensaries have been operating in California for years, dispensaries as such are not recognized under the law. As noted above, the only recognized group entities are cooperatives and collectives. It is the opinion of this office, the Attorney General's office, that a properly organized and operated collective or cooperative that dispenses medical marijuana through a storefront may be lawful under California law, but that dispensaries that do not substantially comply with the guidelines set forth are likely operating outside the protections of Prop 215 and the MMP, and that individuals operating such entities may be subject to arrest and criminal prosecution under California law. For example, dispensaries that merely require patients to complete a form summarily designating the business owner as their primary caregiver and then offering marijuana in exchange for cash donations, in quotes, are likely illegal. The proposed CUP before you is an attempt to allow for cooperatives in those areas where they will have the least negative effect on our neighborhoods. While dispensaries, as they currently exist in San Diego, are illegal, the state law does allow for medical marijuana to be distributed through cooperatives as defined by the Attorney General's guidelines. And let me define the cooperatives. A cooperative must file articles of incorporation with the state and conduct its business for the mutual benefits of its members. No business may call itself a cooperative or co-op unless it is properly organized and registered as such as a corporation under the Corporations of Food and Agricultural Code. Cooperative corporations are democratically controlled and are not organized to make a profit for themselves as such or for their members. If you look at all of the ads that we provided to you in the back of the reader and elsewhere, you will find dozens calling themselves cooperatives, and that is illegal. Cooperatives should not purchase marijuana from, this is also from the State Attorney General guidelines, cooperatives should not purchase marijuana from or sell to non-members. Instead, they should only provide a means for facilitating or coordinating transactions between members. The recommendations, the guidelines that are set before you do not address these issues. Also from the Attorney General guidelines. Guidelines for the lawful operation of a cooperative. Collectives and cooperatives should be organized with sufficient structure to ensure security, non-diversion of marijuana to illicit markets, and compliance with all state and local laws. The following are some suggested guidelines and practices for operating collectives, growing operations to help ensure lawful operation. Now I divert to my own remarks. We have provided the Attorney General guidelines for your information. Compliance with these guidelines should be done by the police. The definition of a legal operation. The police cannot regulate or control an illegal activity. And so by definition, a police-regulated business or operation will be legal. Therefore, it's essential that an important mandatory condition of the CUP required for these cooperatives is that a police-regulated business permit be obtained before a CUP is issued. In addition, in order to protect our neighborhoods from the violent crime associated with these stores, and I've provided examples of all the crime that's occurred just in the last 6 months, and the easy youth access to marijuana they provide, we recommend the following additions to the conditional use permit. 1, residences. All residences, both public and private, post-secondary schools, state-licensed residential and non-residential treatment facilities, and alcohol outlets shall be included as protected uses from which medical marijuana dispensaries shall not be permitted within 1,000 feet. That means no dispensaries within 1,000 feet of our houses. 2, a conditional use permit review and audit shall be required annually to ensure that all conditions of the CUP are met. 3, security guards shall be required to be on premises of the cooperative 24 hours of the day. I just received this text from a business owner on Cass Street in Pacific Beach. I sent you an email, but here's a text. The weed shop across the street on Cass got broken into last night and got cleaned out. All the stash and all the computers. Thought you'd like to know. This is a businessman who has a relationship with dispensary operators who have indicated to him they are making between $20,000 and $40,000 a week selling marijuana. Number 4, under no circumstances may an applicant be granted a CUP unless it is located in an approved zone and unless it is located more than 1,000 feet from a protected use. No variances may be granted which would in any way run counter to the zoning requirements of the ordinance. And 5, police-regulated business. Youth access to marijuana is of great concern to the community because marijuana use by high school juniors in San Diego has nearly doubled in the 2 years we've been sitting on this issue, from 13% in 2007 to 23% in 2009. The majority of teens arrested and who, others who can cede me time. I have about 2 to 3 minutes.
The amount of people willing to cede you time. So unless some of the other folks who have listed themselves as part of your group, let's see here.
I'll cede my time.
Hang on a second. Mary Baum?
Yep.
You're willing to do that? Let's see. How about Enrique de la Cruz?
No, I'm going to speak.
You're going to speak. Okay. Judy Strang?
I'll cede.
You're seating us too. Tom Heatherton? I'm sorry, I can't read this one.
No, I'm going to talk.
You're going to speak. Barbara Gordon?
Yeah, I'll cede.
Okay, there's your 3 minutes.
Thank you. Youth access to marijuana is of great concern to the community because marijuana used by high school juniors in San Diego has nearly doubled in 2 years, from 13% in 2007 to 23% in 2009. I'm glad to be able to repeat that. The majority of teens arrested and who end up in juvenile hall that test positive for marijuana. And so, very disturbingly, 2/3 of all adolescent admissions to treatment facilities are due to marijuana. It is incumbent upon us to keep marijuana away from youth, and keeping these stores as far as possible away from our children and our neighborhoods is imperative. You can do that by adding the conditions we suggest to the CUP before you. Also, violent crime is of grave concern to our community. It has long been known that drug users have resorted to burglaries and robberies to obtain money they need to purchase their illegal drugs. The community is concerned about allowing marijuana dispensaries in neighborhoods, which may invite criminals into the neighborhoods to commit these crimes. 9 robberies across the city have occurred at these stores in the last 6 months. We suggest that there are many more that go unreported because pot shops do not want police visits. Additionally, loitering, noxious fumes, etc., etc. All of these are serious public health and safety issues. We respectfully request that the police department be invited to provide their personal perspective on the public safety concerns. And in addition, you received 3 letters from the universities of San Diego State, University of San Diego, University of San Diego, Point Loma Nazarene, which they want to be included in a 1,000-foot separation. It's important to note that regulation has not worked in other municipalities across the state. By adding regulations that keep marijuana stores away from our neighborhoods and children, perhaps we can reduce the negative effect of these in our communities. Thank you for your consideration, and we appreciate your time and your service to serve on this committee.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. I don't have a minute, so I'll try to make it really brief. My name is Enrique de la Cruz. I'm resident of the South Bay, actually South San Diego, right on the border of San Isidro. I'm speaking to you today just on behalf of some of the people that I've talked to that are specifically a director of a treatment center just in the boundary of San Diego and IB that has told me, he's like, hey, what do I do? He's like, I have a dispensary like 2 doors down, like literally headed down. So for him, he's like, I just being shot in the foot. So what I told him, I said, look, the city, the city planning commission here now has something that they're going to be hearing regarding setting buffers, 1,000 feet. Now I'm here to really support, the buffers 1,000 feet because for treatment centers, anybody that's familiar with treatment centers, it's a revolving door. So having a dispensary just down, a couple doors down. It's real detriment to the recovery of people that are in those facilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Tom Hetherington, or Mr. H, and I'm a resident and I do work in the city of San Diego. Real quick here, I'm concerned about the staff report provided to the Planning Commission by City Councilman Gloria Stafford. The report suggested that there are 3 other sets of recommendations that the Planning Commission could consider to make changes to the city attorney regulations before you that were written in response to city council. The city council and the city attorney are elected by the citizens, but the 3 groups suggested in the staff are not. It is disrespectful to citizens to suggest that these three groups, and they alone, are worth looking at and considering. Interesting, the suggestions for the three groups cited by the staffer tend to make the regulations less protective to the citizens' safety. There are many other groups also who have provided suggestions for the city draft regulations that are sensitive to ensuring public safety, but they are not cited by the staffer. The staffer has given us merely his opinion, and he should just speak in public comment like I have to. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Carolyn Short, and I live in La Jolla. And I just wanted to say that I've watched over the last 10, 15 years a real change of the city. And it's a result of this dispensaries. And if you walk up and down this beautiful city of Pacific Beach, for instance, you will see many, many people loitering and waiting to buy medical marijuana, so-called medical marijuana. We all know that it's used mostly by recreational users. It has changed the fabric of this city. And I would just encourage you, like the young family who came up and talked about their neighborhood, I would just encourage everybody to think about what it would feel like to live across the street from a dispensary, to take your children for a walk in Pacific Beach, to go get yogurt, and go past young people trying to figure out the best way to get a medical marijuana card. And as I just witnessed just this last week, how to come up with residency for purposes of getting a medical marijuana card. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Logan, community member. We all heard Melinda, who lives across the street from 4 dispensaries, talk about her kids asking, Mommy, what are they doing as they're standing there smoking marijuana on the premises? Then they get in their car and they drive, which is a safety issue for every one of us. All of you, me, everybody here. After smoking marijuana on the premises, they drive. I just wanted to share some facts with you. In 2009, 33% of the 12,000 drivers fatally injured in motor vehicle crashes tested positive for at least one drug. And a really sad fact is, out of those 33%, 28% of them tested positive for marijuana. How many? Here are the facts if you don't know. Not just marijuana. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Janet Sorrow. I'd like to share a few words from, I received this yesterday from the Save Our Society from Drugs. Dispensaries are in business to make money. They will sell marijuana to anyone who produces a written recommendation. These recommendations can be obtained by paying physicians a fee and claiming any medical condition, even a headache. Dispensaries claim to operate as nonprofits, but they have been tied to organized crime gangs and are often multi-million-dollar profit centers. Dispensaries are using marks for criminal activities because of valuable marijuana crops and large amounts of cash. Operators of dispensaries have been attacked and murdered by armed criminals, both at storefronts and homes. Common secondary byproducts related to dispensaries include drug dealing, sales to minors, loitering, and heavy foot traffic and vehicle traffic, and robberies of customers just outside of facilities. Thanks to the exhaustive efforts of community coalitions within the last 2 years, 20 cities, 14 counties, as we've heard, in California have banned pot shops. This number speaks volumes about what happens when communities see through the smoke screen and are enlightened.
Okay, thank you.
With it. Sorry. I'm here because we need to keep...
Sorry, just your name, full name and address.
Kathy Lippett, San Diego community member. I'm here because we need to keep dispensaries away from kids. Even though K through 12 schools are on the list of protected uses, colleges, universities, and residents are not. California Healthy Kids Study, in comparing 2009 to 2007, they're roughly the same over the last 2 years. We are alarmed by what we see. Students report they feel frequent use of marijuana is less harmful in 2009 than they did in 2007. Students report easier access to marijuana in 2009 than they did in 2007. A fundamental principle in preventing drug abuse is that when a drug becomes more available and the perception of harm for that drug decreases, there will be an increase in use of that drug. The intense marketing of marijuana and the pressure to increase availability is not in the best interest of our youth, or our residents, or colleges or universities. Please don't make marijuana more available to our kids. Keep these dispensaries away from schools, colleges, universities, and residential communities. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Dave Potter, reside at 4975 Milton Street. I was one of the 11 members of the Medical Marijuana Task Force. I was the so-called land use planner on that particular task force. I've never used marijuana either recreationally or medicinally, and frankly, after having sat on this task force, I'm really a strong believer in providing reasonable, regulated opportunities for this cooperative. As the map has shown, as it was cut down by the City Council of Land Use and Housing, I really don't think is reasonable. The task force recommended all industrial and all commercial. As a minority on that committee, I suggested all commercial with the exception of neighborhood commercial and visitor commercial. And then also the task force recommended a process 2 and 3. I felt that it was really just better to go with process 3. That would allow the smaller dispensaries or collections to grow. So I would increase the areas in which this could be located, and I would have this done as a process 3. Thank you.
Sylvia.
Good morning, my name is Tony Sylvia. I live in Mission Valley. If crime was such an issue, the police would be here with specific numbers and specific increases for neighborhoods. This sounds like a lot of NIMBY, not in my backyard. If you do a search on the Automated Regional Justice Information System, we'll see there's not a noticeable increase around most dispensaries. Right now, we do have hundreds of unregulated dispensaries. We are the test case. If there were going to be problems, they would have already happened. There's not much bad going on. The worst you can say is there might be some garish advertising. I'd like you to take into account the Medical Marijuana Task Force, the Code Monitoring Team, and the Community Planners Committee. Hundreds, if not thousands, of people showed up over the period of time that these meetings were heard and these things were already discussed. We have specific recommendations that were made after this ordinance was drafted. They've been reasoned, they've been considered. It was a democratic process, and I just ask that you look into that and make this a land use issue and not a political issue, which you have stated you will. Thank you.